Good evening. Katie is on assignment. Well, it has been more than 24 hours now since the explosion which rocked the Upper Big Branch mine here in rural West Virginia. And as this community mourns the 25 who died, rescue teams are already preparing to go after the 4 who are still unaccounted for, in the fading hope that they still may be alive. Crews today bulldozed a road to the mine and set up 4 drills. They're now boring down to ventilate the toxic air so rescuers can go back inside. But they don't expect the drills to reach the site of the explosion before noon tomorrow. It's been a race against time from the moment of yesterday's deadly blast.
It's quite evident that something went very wrong here for us to have the magnitude of this explosion.
The tragedy unfolded 1,000 feet underground and 1.5 miles into the sprawling mine. The explosion is believed to have happened during a shift change. 3 groups of miners were underground at the time of the blast. One group of 9 was leaving the site in a vehicle known as a man trip. 7 of those miners were killed in the blast. 2 others were injured. A second group of 18 miners was thought to be working further inside the mine. All of them were killed. A third group of 4 miners was deepest inside the mine. They are still unaccounted for, although the hope is they made it to rescue chambers that have food and water for 4 days.
Train rails that go back in look like they've been twisted like a pretzel. That's horrific. That's an explosion that is just beyond proportion.
This is what longwall coal mining in places like the Upper Branch mine looks like. Huge machines separating coal from seams in the rock face in a very confined space. Investigators haven't identified the cause of the blast, but initial reports indicate that it may have been caused by methane, a highly combustible, odorless gas and primary byproduct of coal mining. Mining is a dangerous business. Everyone here has a story of an uncle or an in-law who's been hurt or even killed in a mining accident. And while the last 2 years have been the safest in U.S. mining history, no one here has been deluded into thinking this is work without risk. Underscoring that risk is the questionable safety record of mine owners Massey Energy Company. In 2009 alone, the Upper Big Branch mine had over 450 safety violations, racking up nearly $900,000 in fines, an issue the state is taking seriously.
We have to get into this investigation. It's going to be lengthy. We need to find every single thing we possibly can that possibly went wrong and make sure that it doesn't happen again.
For now, though, that is little consolation to this small mining town. While some continue to hold out hope that the 4 remaining miners will still be rescued, families of the dead are trying to come to terms with the tragedy.
Just have to depend on the Lord. That's all you can do. This is a great loss to our family.
This was the deadliest mine disaster in the United States since a mine fire in Utah killed 27 men back in 1984. Now, the owner of the Big Branch mine, Massey Energy, is the 6th largest coal company in America. It operates some 35 underground mines. Correspondent Bob Orr has been digging into Massey's safety record.
In the month leading up to the fatal blast inside the Upper Big Branch mine, inspectors repeatedly cited owner Massey Energy for serious safety violations. 7 separate times, the coal operator was hit with ventilation violations for failing to develop and carry out plans to monitor and remove dust and combustible gas from the mine. And those citations don't stand alone, says former mine safety official David McAteer.
They had a doubling of their citations from 2008 to 2009. They had a tripling of the penalties. That period suggests to you that you got a problem.
Massey vigorously contested many of the alleged violations and paid just a fraction of the nearly $900,000 in fines levied last year. McAteer says alarms should have been sounding.
You need to intervene. You need to stop what you're doing. You need to stop the production. You need to say, we've got to get this under control, or we can have consequences like we've seen.
While investigators have reached no conclusions, suspicion focuses on a methane explosion similar to the one which killed 12 West Virginia miners at Sago in 2006. Experts suspect the methane may have built up in a closed section of the Massey mine and then leaked around a reinforced concrete seal into the area where miners were working. If so, a small spark would have been catastrophic.
Business is what causes people to have quality of life.
But investigators will also focus on the safety culture at Massey, run by controversial CEO Don Blankenship. Last night, he issued a statement saying, "Our top priority is the safety of our miners and the well-being of their families." But Blankenship drew criticism 4.5 years ago with an earlier internal memo to supervisors, in which he seemed to stress productivity over safety. We seem not to understand that coal pays the bills.
Even if it wasn't stated, if you're saying that production is the most important part of our operation, you're implying that safety is not the most important part.
Blankenship later said his memo was misconstrued and that safety was not secondary. Since the Sago accident, numerous mine safety improvements have been mandated. Mines are now required to have extra breathing packs, better communications, and safe rooms for protection.
They're looking for roof falls, they're looking for gas, this kind of thing.
And looking for the people.
And mine rescue teams, like one we joined in this underground drill, train regularly for rescues.
Now, it's important to note that mine fatalities are down dramatically over the past 40 years, but clearly there are still serious safety enforcement issues. A new government report shows that in the year 2007, more than half of the mine inspectors audited had not completed their training. Harry?
Bob Orr in Washington tonight.